My name is Tricia Speyer. I'm the Program Quality Director of District 10. I would also like to welcome our District Director, Alicia Smith-Kirk, is in the meeting. Hello, Alicia. Our co-presenters this evening are Dan Minder, who is our Data Analyst for District 10, as well as our presenter this evening. We also have our Zoom Master, Eugene Schnell, who's our Logistics Manager in District 10. And April Ware is going to be helping us out with timing. She is our Finance Manager at District 10. So thank you all for helping us out this evening. We appreciate it. All right. So what does it mean to hold a club contest in Zoom? Last year, we didn't have this I'll say not a problem, but this experience in holding club contests in Zoom. We were all in person last year, so now everything's turned on its head. So we'll try to figure out how to get through this together. First thing, of course, you want to have fun. The contests are about the members. The members are growing. The reason that they're participating is they're stepping out of their comfort zone, and you hardly grow more as a speaker than when you enter a club contest. This is the greatest potential for growth for members. So we hope all of your members participate if they can. This year, District 10 is holding the International Speech Contest, which we do every year, as well as the Tall Tales Contest. And if you don't know enough about the Tall Tales, we'll refer you to a webinar that we did a couple of weeks ago where we talked about what is a tall tale and how do you write one of those. It's actually a linked portion of our resources later in this presentation. The first thing that you would want to do as a club is to ensure your club's eligibility to have club contests. So what does it mean to be eligible? Your club will have had to renew 8 members by the beginning of October. If you look at the Toastmasters International dashboard, and there is a portion on there that talks about the renewals in the Distinguished Club Program. Renewal on time, if you have a 1 there, that means you're eligible. If your club has a 0 there, you might want to talk to those members who have not renewed. You will need to have 8 members in order to be eligible. The members need to be eligible too to compete. To compete in the Tall Tales contest, they just need to be a paid member. To compete in the International Speech Contest, if they were a member before Pathways rolled out, they may have completed 6 speeches in the Competent Communicator Manual, and everybody that's joined since Pathways rolled out, they have to have completed 2 levels in Pathways to compete in the International Speech Contest. The contest dates this year for clubs, you can hold them anytime now between now and December 31st of the end of this year. The winners of the club contests can move on to the area contests, which will be held between January 2nd and March 13th. And the winners of the area contests advance to the division contests. We have 5 divisions in our district. Those contests will be held between March 21st and April 17th. And then the winners of the division contests ascend to the district contest, which will be held on April 25th. So lots of exciting things going on this year. And they will all be held through Zoom, the area, the division, and the district contests. So that's why we're preparing you today. I wanted to point out a major portion of the rule book where it states that each club in good standing is permitted to choose its contestant to the area contest by whatever means the club desires. So that means if you choose not to have a contest, your club can elect a member to go on to the area. You might hold a speak-a-thon and have your members vote for the best speaker like they would for table topics. That person could be sent to the area contest. It is up to you, your club officers, to decide whether you want to hold a full contest or figure out a different way to pick your contestants to go on to the area. So you have between now and the end of December to pick your contestants from your clubs. And if you do hold a contest, it must adhere to all the rules in the Toastmasters International rule book. We have a link to the rule book as well. And once that contest is held, the result is final. And then the results have to be sent to the area director, and then those contestants can go to the area contest. Alicia Smith-Kirk, our district director, has said that we can have 2 contestants from each club move on to the area contest as long as the area has 4 or fewer clubs in it. So you can have two contestants from the international speech and 2 contestants from the Tall Tales contest that can move on to the area contest. I'll pause here if anybody has questions so far. I can't see a chat box. We'll cover some of these other features as we move on. So what you're probably here today to learn is what's the difference between an in-person contest and a Zoom contest. Well, we would like to set some expectations. Expect things to take longer than you might expect. Yeah. You know what I mean? It might seem quicker to get to a meeting in Zoom, that's for sure. There's a lot of preparation that has to go into the Zoom meeting. But if you've experienced the club meetings through Zoom, you know that there's always a transition period between the muting, the unmuting, the moving to the next speaker, making sure that everything is in place for the contestants before we move on. Also, the technology check for the contestant and so forth. There are some things that need to be done outside of the contest meeting in preparation for the actual contest. The roles might be a little bit different this year too. If you're familiar with what the Sergeant at Arms does in a contest, in person, they'll stand by the door, make sure that no one comes in and out of the door while a contestant is speaking. They also escort contestants out of the room if we had contests such as the evaluation or table topics. Well, the Sergeant at Arms isn't a physical presence in the Zoom meeting, but they have an important role. And Dan Minder is going to talk more about this, but the Sergeant at Arms may end up being your Zoom co-host, where they have control over some of the aspects of your Zoom meeting. The briefings for the contest, and if you've ever gone to a club contest where everybody is scattered around, the briefings have to take place before the contest, and just trying to gather everyone up, it takes some time. So we might suggest that if you're briefing the contestants, the contest master would be briefing the contestants and so forth, that these briefings might occur a day or 2 before the contest. So how would that happen if your club meeting is on one of the district accounts? We might suggest that if you have a free Zoom account or another electronic means of meeting for the contest master and the contestants, you might hold a separate Zoom meeting prior to the contest, a day or 2 before the contest, because the contest itself might take more than an hour. And if your club meets only an hour normally, we will not be able to have you stay on longer than normal, because there might be a conflict with other clubs having to use that Zoom account. So these are the things that you might need to take into consideration as you're planning the contest, having those briefings a day or 2 before, making sure that all the roles are filled before the day of the contest is very important. and the different roles are filled before the contest itself. There's also the contest timeline. And what I meant by that is that consider the number of contestants your club might have. I was doing the math and I figured if you had 3 contestants for the International Speech Contest, 3 contestants for the Tall Tales Contest, once you add in the times for all of those speeches, plus the time for judging, plus the time for the introduction, plus the time for the chief judge to brief the audience, plus the time for the chief judge to meet with the judges and so forth, we're talking close to an hour and a half just in the number of minutes. So the time for the contest itself, depending on the number of contestants you have, may exceed an hour. So we might suggest that if you have an international speech contest, you hold it one meeting, and maybe you hold the Tall Tales contest on another day, just to keep that time within your normal meeting time period. We have some resources in spreadsheets and scripts and so forth that explain the different roles and responsibilities for the different positions that you will have for a contest. If you have run a contest before, or if you have not, this list on the screen talks about the different roles that you might need to fill if you have a full-blown contest. So you'll need a contest chair. This is somebody who plans the entire contest. I've seen different contests where the contest chair and the contest master are the same people. They don't have to be, but I have seen that happen. The contest master is the MC or the Toastmaster type of role in the event. You'll need a Zoom master, somebody who will take care of the technology behind the scenes. You'll need a chief judge to collect all of the ballots. The chief judge does not vote him or herself. They collect all the votes, and then they count all of the ballots with the ballot counters. You would need, I didn't even add judges on here. I'll have to fix this slide. You'll need judges, and the contest rule book says that you'll need 5 judges if practical. So if your club doesn't have enough members to have all 5 judges, you might need to borrow judges from another club or so forth, or use perhaps 3 judges, depending on the number of members that you have. A couple of ballot counters will help. They'll count the ballots along with the chief judge. And then the sergeant at arms could act as your Zoom co-hosts in this case. The timers, you'll want someone who can hopefully display a virtual background like I'm doing in the background here. I have a Toastmasters background behind me, but when the timer goes, you've seen this, the yellow, the green, and the red, something that the contestant can see and that they can pin on the screen. And a secondary timer fills out the timing sheets and keeps track of all the timing as well. There are several resources that we will give you links to that have the full descriptions of all of these different roles. I am going to now turn it over to Dan Minder, who's going to talk about the technical aspects of running a contest in Zoom. Dan?
Thank you, Madam Program Quality Director. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. It's wonderful to see you all here this evening. Thank you for taking time out of your schedules to join us. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, and so what I'd like to do tonight is talk about some of the technical aspects of Zoom as they relate to a contest. I know this length looks quite lengthy. However, I want to impress upon you that please don't be intimidated by any of these contests, especially if you're new to them. The Zoom interface is quite intuitive, and you'll find a lot of these things that I point out to you will actually become common sense. In fact, most of you are probably already familiar with these. Some things we're not going to cover tonight specifically are going to be the things that we would cover in our normal Zoom basics course, as well as advanced Zoom concepts, setting up your speaking environment, like your microphone, your lighting, and things like that, and also troubleshooting. This is all just basically the Zoom user interface as you would appear in a contest situation. So the easiest way to think of a contest is on a timeline. It has a definite beginning and a definite end. It has a start and an end. And they basically pretty much all run the same way. This is how they ran when we were in person, and this is also how they're going to run an online environment. We have a contest chair, contest master. Contest chair starts it off, then he hands it over to the contest master. He or she hands it to the chief judge, who describes the rules. And then you have your first contestant, third, fourth, fifth, however many contestants you've got per contest. So this little gap right here, this can actually, between first contestant and final contestant, that can be for both, apply both to international or tall tales. After your contestants are finished speaking, the ballots are collected, and then you have organizational announcements and perhaps an intermission, a table topic session if you want. Finally, the winners are announced, and then the contest comes to an end. And that's basically how a normal Toastmasters contest runs. In a Zoom environment, however, there are a few things along the timeline that have to happen so that everything runs smoothly. Speakers tend to look for two things, and the higher level it gets, area, division, district, the more intense it becomes. Usually they want predictability. They want to know that everybody who's key people are going to show up on time and make everything run smoothly, and they also want reliability. They want to know that when I click this button, my screen is going to advance, or I will be able to share my screen. And these things are going, and if you follow this design, basically you will ensure predictability and reliability for your speakers, and everything will go smoothly. The first block is assign co-host for screen sharing. Enabling, these are all things that you want to do right at the start, but before the contest begins. So you want to assign co-host for screen sharing. So Eugene has gone through and he's made everybody a co-host right now. And a co-host, as you can see, if you look in your toolbar, you probably have some different options available that you didn't have available before. For instance, you probably have a shield that says security. And if you click that, you'll see all kinds of little options. Don't click them yet, but you can just click on the shield and take a look. Let's see, what else might you find? You might see, you'll see the number of participants, chat. You can also have an option to pause and share a recording. So you have a few little options that aren't available to the normal contestants, the people who are just attendees and there to watch. We want to give key people the co-host privileges. Those folks would include, well, you want to give your speakers co-host privileges so that they can share their screens, because you have to be a co-host to share your screen. You probably want to give that to any dignitaries, like folks like Trio, if they happen to show up to the contest. It'd be a good idea to give that to them as well. It's customary. And those are basically it. Your contest master, your chief judge, your contest chair should also have that as well. Anybody who needs to share their screen or take control of the environment. But it doesn't mean give it to everybody, though. You also want to stay safe and wise and make sure that you're keeping your environment secure. Any good IT rule of thumb is that if they don't need access to it, don't give them access to it. You also enable chat. You also want to enable chat so people can talk back and forth. You also want to start a communications back channel. And a communications back channel is very similar to what we have in WhatsApp. I'm going to exit out of my screen here, and I'm going to stop sharing, and you can see what I mean. There are a couple ways to do this. At the district level, we usually use this fancy tool called WhatsApp. And I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'll reshare. If you look here, you can see that this is a little communications back channel that I've got on my phone, and it's actually on my computer right now. And this is all the communication that we've actually had in the back channel. We also have, this is how we run our clubs. And this allows us to run things behind the scene and communicate behind the scenes as a team, and without having to interrupt the contest proceedings in the foreground. I'll stop sharing that, go back here, present, and share. All right. Okay. And then last thing is also you want to iron out how you're going to record locally. Just before it begins, you want to inform everybody that you're going to record, and you'll want to record locally so that you're not, if you're going to record, I don't think it's required for you to do this, but if you want to record your club contest, you'll want to do so locally. And what it means by locally is that is not recording to the cloud. You want to have somebody who has got a computer, a physical computer or a Mac, a PC, and have them record on that and make sure that they've got a gigabyte or two of space so that they can download the video. The video will download to their hard drive and record the contest. And that's covering recording. Yeah, so right now, let's just get into a practical exercise, just so you can see it. Go ahead and click on the security shield. If you see right now, it's checked. And I'm going to exit out of my screen here so we can get a normal interface. If you just click on that, and and by uncheck it, you should not be able to chat. Right, the chat feature has gone away. Is that correct? Nobody sees it? Okay, so that's how you stop chat. And likewise, to start chat, you just click Enable Chat. What about turning off the, okay, so that's how you'll enable it, and you'll start your back channel. So those are the four things the four big things before the contest. Assign a co-host for screen sharing, enable chat, start back channel communication, and record locally.
We're still chatting. People are doing test chat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I enabled it again. Can you chat now?
I think Molly's correct. It works because we're all co-hosts.
Oh, okay. All right. A little rusty if this has been a minute since I did my last contest. Okay. So that will stop chat for those of us who are not co-hosts. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Madam District Director. All right. Thank you, Molly, as well. So you turn off, we can also turn off the audience video and mute audio as well. I brought a little test account up here. Mr. Host, could you please, on my backup, my laptop device, could you please make it not a co-host if it isn't already? Just make it a normal participant.
Dan, you are the host at this point, so that will have to be.
Oh, good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Okay. Withdrawn co-host permission. You should see a user. Oops. That is, you should see a user named Dan Minder Laptop. You should not show up as a co-host. You just should be a normal user. Ah, very good. Okay. If you would, go ahead and try turning as, go ahead and prompt him. If you click the button next to his name, you should be able to my backup laptop's name, you should be able to prompt him to ask to start video or also mute him. Yep, that's right. I'm getting prompted to start my video. And so I'm going to do that. Okay, and now you should see a picture of my laptop, of me somewhere in your view, in your speaker or gallery view, right? Okay. All right, very good. And the same thing applies with muting. So after your contest master starts up the contest, you want to remind, your contestants to not be, you want to minimize the chatter, the unintentional background chatter, and also you want to shrink down the bandwidth that you want to make sure there's enough bandwidth available for the meeting to run smoothly and lessen the likelihood of any technical glitches. So it's a good idea to ask your audience to mute themselves and also stop their video. And then you'll have a few stragglers here and there who maybe have some trouble doing that, or maybe they're not aware that their mic and video are still on. So what you do is you just, through those tools that you saw in the participants panel, you can stop, basically turn off their video and their audio for them. So your contest master is up there. They're talking, they're speaking, they're getting ready. They turn it over to their chief judge. And at this point, he's going over the rules. And just around the time the person's finished speaking, you want to stop the chat. So you'd go through security panel and you disable the chat. And then you'd also go ahead and you'd lock the meeting in the same security panel. If you click that, you should see a lock or unlock meeting button. The lock meeting button prevents people from joining the meeting in case there's a waiting room is disabled. It prevents people from coming into the room the same way a sergeant at arms would stop people from coming into a room while the speaker is going on. You want to go ahead and lock that meeting down as a best practice, at least until the speaker is finished. Another alternative to that is to enable the waiting room, but also want to make sure that the alarm that you hear when a waiting room is enabled is silent, so that that's also not disrupting the speaker. And then you let those folks in, any latecomers show up, you let them into the meeting in that 1 to 2 minute, that intermission period between speakers, and then you lock the meeting down when it's time for the next speaker to come on stage. Okay, we're now at the point, so our chief judge has gone through the rules, let the contest begins, the contest master gets up and they call the first speaker. In a normal environment, all we have to do is may the contestant number 1 and call out the name and they take the stage, right? That's a little more tricky here, but it's nothing that's can't be manageable. What we found over the past year as a best practice is actually for the contest master, whenever the speaker is present, ask them to start their video, enable their audio, and say these words. Can you hear me? The contestant says, yes, I can. Can you see me? Yes, I can. Can you see the timer? Yes or no? And they should see the timer will have their name, edited in the participants panel clearly so that they can see the timer. And the timer's video should also be enabled as well. And then, of course, speech name, speech title, speech name. And the speaker starts to speak and he starts to talk. Then what you can do is you can change backgrounds. I'm going to stop sharing here. And I'm going to start with, I'm going to enable my video on my test laptop. And what you'll see now, if you see my test device, I'm going to go choose a virtual background. And by doing that, I click the the little arrow to the right of stop video, and I click choose virtual background. And I'll have all of these pre-configured colors available to me. Green, so whenever the speech reaches 5 minutes, yellow when the speaker reaches 6, and of course red whenever it reaches 7. That's how we'd run timing here. At this point, while the speaker's talking, there should be only 3 people or 2 people that have their video enabled: the timer and the person who's speaking. The contest master, of course, when he or she is not speaking, will turn off their video, and those should be the only 2 videos that are running at that time. The speaker should clearly see the timer. And we'll also have these files available for download for you. And that's how I managed running a timer in a contest environment. So far, do we have any questions so far? I've covered a lot of material.
Yes, Dan, there are some questions in the chat box.
Oh, excellent, thanks.
The first question was about how to access the chime turning on to enable and disable the chime.
Okay.
Upon entry.
All right. Okay. If you click on your participants panel on the right, you should see 3 dots to the far right. It's a menu. If you click on that, and you scroll about halfway down, you should see a play, enter, exit chime. Does everyone see that? It's a good idea during your contest, especially, to keep that unchecked. All right. At this point, so we've gone through the timing backgrounds. The speakers finish. So next we go through the ballot collection process. That's basically up to the I think that was left up to the chief judge. You can complete the ballots, scan them, print them. Print them, scan them, take a photograph of them, then text them, email them to the chief judge or the ballot counters. At this point, what we do is we take a big sigh of relief, and then we unlock the meeting. We enable chat so people can chat. And, oh yes, we also open the breakout room. So we haven't quite taken a big sigh of relief just yet. So next actually is going to be a practical exercise for all of us since it requires some hands-on. We're going to practice opening and going into breakout rooms. So we haven't taken that big sigh of relief yet. But I'm the host, so what you don't see here is there are differences between host and co-host. Small differences. As a co-host, you can pretty much do everything that I can do. The only exceptions being I can start and stop the meeting. I can assign co-hosts, whereas co-hosts can't. And as a host, I can also create open and close breakout rooms. And I'm going to create a breakout room right now. And a breakout room is a virtual space where we funnel people into a small destination, a little private chat area. It's identical to the room we're in right now. And from there, we can have a conversation and conduct business outside of the main business area, out of earshot of the regular meeting proceedings going on. So this is an ideal location for us to count ballots. Okay, so what I will do is I'm going to assign, I'm going to assign breakout rooms automatically, or I'm going to assign them manually rather, create them. And I'm going to move everybody into a breakout room. Okay, everybody should be back. Okay, our breakout room's closed. Does everybody see how that worked? Get a general idea? Okay. All right, any questions as far as the breakout rooms are concerned?
Dan, I have a question.
Yes.
When you're over there, if you need to come back into the main room and ask a question, do you just hit leave room and you come back over, and then can you get sent back over? Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Maybe that sounds confusing. Maybe I don't understand my question. So once you're over there, are you kind of stuck over there until someone gets you? If you're in the breakout room?
You're not stuck there. You can leave the meeting.
Okay.
Was everybody able to see the button that said leave the meeting or leave the room?
Yes. Now,
Okay.
do the timers go over there with them or not? Or do the timers just share their timing with the chief judge through a back channel? Or do the timers go over
contest I'm sorry, somebody. Okay. During a normal contest, the ballot counter or the chief judge, I believe, please jump in and correct me if I'm wrong. The chief judge will collect the timing ballots. So therefore, the timers don't really have to be in the same ballot counting breakout room as the others. I think those, as long as those are sent over to the chief judge, however, or by whichever method the chief judge chooses, that should suffice.
Okay, so just some kind of back channel communication with the chief judge between them and the timer. That's
Exactly.
All. Okay.
While Dan is doing that, I just wanted to make sure that the people that you're making a co-host are aware of what they're doing, because they can stop the recording. Somebody did that during our session here. When you're just clicking buttons, you're not necessarily paying attention all the time. They could potentially stop and start the recording by accident. So just make sure that they know what they're supposed to be clicking at that time.
Here we go. Okay, you see this little, it's right here where it says breakout rooms. That's what it looks like, and that's the interface that will come up. Okay. So that's where you'll see that on the toolbar when you're the host. All right. Okay, last. Okay, so now we're moving right along here. Okay, so we've basically gone through, the ballots have been collected. They come back, your chief judge will come back and they'll announce the winners. And then the next part is when we do the award ceremony. And it's basically the winners are announced. What you do, one way we do that is to have everybody turn off their audio, video, microphones, and so forth, and then they just bring up the screenshots. You just have the person who won third place start their video and smile, and the presenter will also have the certificate of appreciation or the awards, and then you can take a screenshot of that. If you're recording the video, you can just play it back and press pause and then take a screenshot of that particular moment as well. There's another way to do that if you can't do it in real time. Ways to do screenshots include just the snipping tool that comes available with Windows 10, or Snip and Sketch is the newest version of that. I think for a Mac, it's Grab. And those are some of the tools that they provide you within your operating system to take screenshots. Are there any questions so far? Okay, Monica asked, are we making breakout rooms for the ballot counters? The ballot counters would go in with the chief judge, correct? So.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Recording. If clubs want to record, you can record locally to someone's computer, not the cloud, because the district has to pay for a recording space. So again, yes, please record locally if you're going to record. Did I miss any questions?
Dan, it's Molly. I have one more question for you.
Hi, Molly. How you doing?
Good, thank you. Can you review again? You said, how do you get the judges, the judging ballots to the ballot counters? You said something about taking a photo, or can you review that portion again?
Absolutely. Okay. So it's really up to the chief judge how they want to do, for the chief judge to work out with the judges how to transfer the ballot counters. You'll have Toastmasters World Headquarters advises you to use a normal, regular, standard issue ballot that they give out and complete that. One way we've done that in previous contests is just to take a screenshot with your phone and just we've emailed it to the judge that way. Another way we've done it is also to send it through chat. Oh, I think I got a message. Best practice balances must be a visual with a signature, right? So you don't text the name of the winners. I choose 1, 2, 3, just take a photo and send it over, have an image with a signature to make sure all our P's and Q's are dotted. Does that answer your question, Molly?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Dan, I got a quick question.
Yes.
So are the ballots on a fillable PDF or a Word document that you can just save to your computer and email them or share them via chat?
Mike, I can answer that. Yes, they are. We have a Google Drive that contains all of the fillable ballots and judging forms and so forth. So the judges will need to know how to fill those out in advance. They should practice with the chief judge, just as the contestants get briefed a day or two ahead of the contest. The judges should meet with the chief judge and the ballot counters a day or two ahead of the contest. The judges should practice filling out those forms and signing them, and either taking a photo, like Dan said, or scanning them or saving them as that fillable PDF to send to the chief judge. The chief judge may want them to email it to them or text it to them. It's really up to the chief judge how they want to receive them, but the forms are fillable.
Awesome. Thank you.
Trish, I'm going to say, last year I remember judging one of the division contests, and as a judge, I remember having to submit my signature electronically.
Through the form itself?
Yes, through the form. And then I took a picture of the bottom half and through back channels submitted that to the ballot counters and chief judge, and they were able then to verify my digital signature.
Perfect. Thank you.
Also, I want to mention April. If you look at April Ware's display, thanks April for that. You can see what a default timing logo looks like. So not only would you have it in your participant panel, but it's also nice to have a little timing background. And notice that April is also not visible. She's kind of out of the way. She doesn't appear in that, or she's put a sticky note or another cardboard, sticky note, whatever that obstructs the camera. She didn't disable video, but she's just obstructed the camera lens so that all you see is that timer screen. Thanks, April.
See, Sreethkant had a question about participant interviews during a club contest.
Participant interviews during the club contest? Okay.
Yes, I was going to say that if your contest allows the time, if you have enough time during the contest master can interview the contestants while the chief judge and the ballot counters are meeting. That's usually the time that you would do that.
Yes.
As long as you have time during your meeting. That was a fantastic explanation, Dan. I really appreciate all of your information.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Program Quality Director. I appreciate you, and thank you very much. And I'm really glad. I'm happy to see so many people come out and learn. And this is nothing to fear. It's really intuitive and it's quite easy. So I hope I've been helpful as well as informative, and that you can go into contest season confident and able. Madam Quality Director, back to you.
Thank you, Dan. I'll share my screen one more time. Dan had that excellent slide there. You can get a copy of that when you receive a copy of this presentation. The last sheet that will show you is that we have several resources for you. This presentation is one of them, and it includes these links. There is a Toastmasters International contest page that has all of the information, the kits for all of the different types of contests, and it explains the different types of contests. It has best practices for online meetings, online contests, that is, and many other useful resources. Since then, I've also collected a drive of files. Sometimes when you download the kits, the judges' forms and ballots may not be fillable. They might be from when we were in person. They're just a plain PDF. However, there are separate files that we've found that are the fillable forms. So in this Google Drive that is linked here, it has all of the fillable forms in there. It also includes the links to the different kits where District 10 is having our International Speech Contest and our Tall Tales Contest. Those kits, the kits, for those of you who are not familiar, contain the rule book, which is the first thing that you ought to read if you're holding a contest. It contains all of the certificates, all of the judging forms, the ballots, the timer counting sheets, and the ballot counting sheets. And there might be other things in there too, but it contains almost all of the items that you need for a contest. That Google Drive has the fillable forms in case the kits do not. We have included the scripts. So you remember when Dan was talking about the contest master asking the contestant, can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you share your video, or not share your video, but can you do all of these different things? Those items are built into those scripts for you. The scripts are in a document. You can pull that up, and they're nice big font, so you don't have to squint and look at your screen like that. But in the past contest season, Alicia and Dan and Sandra and many other people in the district have created these fantastic scripts that go step by step, contestant by contestant, that you can customize to your own contest. So you can fill in the contestant's name, so the contest master knows who to call on next. And it has all of the questions. Can you hear me? Can you see me? And so forth for each of the contestants. And it contains every single step in your contest that you'll need. There is a script for the contest master, as well as the chief judge. The chief judge information also has information on briefing the judges and the ballot counters and the timers. The contest master script has information about briefing the contestants all of the timing required for all of the contestants. International speech contestants run from 5 to 7 minutes. The Tall Tales contest run from 3 to 5 minutes. So that specific information is in there when a contestant would be disqualified for going over time, for example. We have in the Google Drive fillable certificates that you can fill out to send to your contestants, certificates of participation and the winners and so forth. There is also a presentation in there. So when you're the contest Zoom master or co-host, you can actually fill out the certificate and show those on screen when you're presenting the winners. Since you're not going up to the person and shaking their hands necessarily, you can at least present them a filled certificate. You might have to have the chief judge do that while they're completing their ballot forms, but you can show those on screen when the contestant winners are announced. There's a video that we did a couple of weeks ago about why you would want to compete in a speech contest. So that is great for contestants. Katie Brandel was talking about her experience in the last year about participating in the virtual environment. There's a lot of great information on there. Annette Palmer motivates people. Why on earth would you want to compete in a speech contest? And there's also information about Tall Tales and what those are all about. There is a web page that we have, District 10, that includes contest best practices. The information that is up there tonight includes information from the last year. We are adding the updated content over the next couple of days, so you'll want to go back to that. We also had another drive of information from the spring season where there were many training sessions and many other resources that were developed in the spring. I would like to thank our facilitators for this evening, our District Director, Alicia Smith-Kirk, Dan Minder, our District Data Analyst this year. Eugene Schnell has been behind the scenes this evening as our Zoom master, and April Ware has been our timer this evening.